He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
We're live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. James Dillingpole is with us for the rest of the hour. He's an English journalist and novelist. He has published several books and that are bestsellers, and he also writes for the Daily Telegraph, the American Spectator, the Libertarian Conservative. His website is jamesdillingpole.com. And I wanted to get him on with his take on the oil spill. You know, he's had headlines about how these organizations out there that want to take control of society through government love a good oil spill. My issue is that it's government that has blocked the states in Louisiana, in Mississippi, in Florida from blocking their estuaries, from putting up their sand berms. It's government that's allowed BP to say no to the Dutch government with its skimmers that are experts in this and had ships in the area. No to other oil companies that wanted to help. The military hasn't been sent in. And we're now 40-something days into this, and it's one of the biggest oil spills in history, and it's in threatening the entire Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic. And the government response in many areas where the fishing hasn't been damaged, the total ban on fishing is accentuating the crisis. And many analysts are saying Obama wants to let this crisis get worse so he can nationalize the oil. And so this is the type of system we're dealing with and facing. And going to James Dillingpole, we'll get his breakdown. James, thanks for coming on with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Alex. Yeah, no, I do agree with much of your analysis that I think President Obama very much sees this crisis as a Rahm Emanuel-style opportunity. You know, it's almost a dream come true for him because, you know, he's got disastrous approval ratings. You know, his presidency is going down the pan. What better than a tremendous crisis which takes people's eye off the ball and enables him to do what despots do around the world, which is blame the filthy foreigners. In this case, the filthy foreigners are, of course, us Brits. He's been indulging in this massive amount of Brit bashing, you know, really exaggerating how much this is a British affair, which, you know, BP is a multinational. And the second thing, I think, which is disgraceful about his behavior in this very shoddy affair, is that he is quite clearly using this as an excuse to hammer the fossil fuel industry to advance his green agenda, and to give the eco freaks just the excuse they need to say, look, this is what happens when you use fossil fuels. Pelicans die, manatees probably get covered in oil too. I feel sorry for the people of Louisiana. I feel sorry for the shrimp fishermen. I feel sorry for the people who run tourist cafes on beaches. All these people. It's horrible that they're suffering.
But it is a political diversion, and I'll bash corruption in England, the socialist government, the police state all day. That's not the British people. That's not the people of the UK. But just like Barack Obama isn't the people of America, though he did bamboozle the 35% or so that voted for him in the country. But expanding on that, it is a distraction to sit there and to be scapegoating England when BP is Dutch, British, and American. Goldman Sachs International was the chairman of BP. I mean, that's like saying that Goldman Sachs is American. If Goldman Sachs is out robbing the people of Greece, that has nothing to do with the United States, that this parasitic international globalist organization happens to nest in London, New York, and Brussels.
I know. It's funny you should mention Goldman Sachs, Alex. Are you familiar with this story about them dumping their BP
44%, and they weren't dumping other oil companies. They dumped BP in the 2 days before, and it turns out the BP head dumped a bunch of his.
Now, what's your take on that? I mean, it sounds pretty a weird coincidence, would you say?
And it turns out they had some weird part that no one will say who put it in. No one understands it. You had Obama giving this very oil rig the special award. You have BP being this top New World Order group pushing global carbon taxes and kind of bullying the other oil companies into it. Their whole global carbon tax is falling apart. Now there's a well they can't fix. And Obama was in the Washington Post with a headline that he's going to use this to bring in a new tax in the name of cleaning it up on gasoline. Yeah, you know what, James? I think they staged it. I think they blew it. I think this is a black op. At the end of the day, I think it's a false flag because Key Bono, who benefits? But regardless, they're letting the crisis continue, and I want to say, why are the state governments saying the feds told us we can't protect our beaches? Since when does the federal government tell the states what they can and can't do? All these people need to quit complaining and say, oh, we're sick of the feds telling us we can't fix this, and they need to go down there and get to work.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, am I right in thinking that it was Obama who authorized the continued use of that film, that ongoing movie showing the oil being pumped out, of the sea bottom? I mean, that's inflammatory stuff in itself. He's clearly milking this crisis and trying to take advantage of it. And this is not the kind of behavior I would expect of the leader of the free world. What he should have done, what he should be doing is making a case saying, look, I know oil is messy, evil stuff, when it leaks out, but face it, we live in a world which depends on fuel, on oil, and will do for a considerable time into the future. So we have to be phlegmatic about this and accept that accidents will happen. They can't use it as a way of hammering the industry which powers our economies.
Well, James, I mean, I couldn't say it any better than you. Elaborate on that.
Well, I mean, we are, funnily enough, I'm writing a book about the subject at the moment. We are effectively fighting a massive ideological war. And it is between those of us who believe in freedom, in liberty, in government staying out of our lives, and those who believe that the world is doomed unless we can impose some kind of new world order. And at the moment, the green movement is being used to give fuel, so to speak, to that particular argument. The idea that the environment is going to hell in a handcart, and that therefore organizations like the United Nations need to step in and take control and take over and save us from ourselves. Well, I don't believe in that view, and I think that all sorts of lies are being told about the environment in order to advance this watermelon conspiracy.
Well, James, I mean, looking into your crystal ball, where do you see this ending? I mean, where is all this leading? Is it just going to be an endless 100-year oil leak? They're now saying it may last another year and that no one's allowed to touch it. BP is God, and no one takes responsibility. Of course, BP is one of his biggest contributors. They're a darling of the Obamanoids. I mean, every time I'm in an airport or open a magazine, it's BP, global governance, global carbon tax ads. You've got Queen Beatrix, who owns part of it, prancing around, who's part of the Bilderberg Group. I mean, this is incredible.
Yeah, certainly, despite being British, I have no sympathy whatsoever with BP